Second battery, fire thrusters now! Third battery, fire thrusters now! All reserve batteries prepared to engage. Thrusters on my mark. Let it rain fire. Fire. Nothing left to do but sit back and watch the fireworks play. Vitamin Nevada, lovely shot. Nothing left to do but watch the fireworks play. Let it rain fire. Fire. Nothing left to do but sit back and watch the fireworks play. Vitamin Nevada, lovely shot. Nothing left to do but watch the fireworks play.
Behold the rising sun. It's been the ruin of many a boy. God, I know I'm one. My mama was a tailor. She sewed my new blue jeans. And my daddy was a gambling man from down in New Orleans. Now the only thing a gambler needs is a suitcase and a trunk. And the only time that he's satisfied is when he's on the run. Back down to New Orleans, listening. You ready to face that one-armed bandit? Ready to go to that house they call the House of the Rising Sun? Come on, get ready to get children not to do what I done and spend their lives in sin and misery in the house of the rising sun. I've got one foot on the platform, babe, and the other's on the train. And I'm going back down to New Orleans to wear that ball and chain. There is a house in New Orleans they call a rising sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. And God, dear God, I know I'm one.
Burning red on my lips, Virginia hustler, rolling blunts, no C's, no sticks. Green clouds swirling, man, it's hot, don't never quit. Trap house, hazy, plugging Richmond speed dial. Light it up, pass it, let it linger for a while. From the porch to the stars, we smoking to the ceiling. VA soul rebel, yeah, you know how we feeling.
Hold up, king, let me slide, match your vibe. Loud pack, purple haze, keep it lit, VA pride. Roll it tight, spark it up, flames kissing the sky. Virginia queen, blowing green, fire deep in my eyes. From the trap to Virginia Beach, we puffin' that chronic. Game in my veins, this smoke stay iconic. Ain't no stress, just finesse, let the world fade away. Hit it, pass it, keep it blazing night and day.
Blaze it up, light it up, smoke filling the air. Virginia trap, rolling fat, don't care who gon' stare. We so loud, clouds, proud, floating high, no despair. From the Blue Ridge to the sky, we get lit everywhere. Backwoods stuff, yeah, we smoking like it's legal. Trap star dreams, dodging feds and Seville streets though. Gas premium tank on full, never running on the every puff a middle finger to the boys in VSP. VA reppin', growing green deep in the Shenandoah. Fields of fire, cut it clean, bag it up, we don't play yo. Me and Shawty vibing, rolling up another one. Chesapeake sunset, we ain't stopping till it's done.
Boy, I'm riding with you, Bonnie to your Clyde. Puffin' sticky, cruising 95 for the ride. Virginia swagger, hair braided, smoking rolls. Blowing O's, watch it dance where the James River flows. Nova block to the booth, yeah, we keep it hella raw. Light it up, break it down, breaking every law. This that VA grit, no validation. We don't need it, weed in rotation. Spark the flame, we stay.
Light it up, smoke filling it. Virginia trap, rolling fat, don't care who gon' stare. We so loud, clouds, proud, floating high, no despair. From the Blue Ridge to the sky, we get lit everywhere.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to Saturday Evenings Posted Mostly Presents with me, your host, Trevor Stewart 1308. And we are here with the ASOC Prod Cat and the Peanut Gallery. Hi, guys.
Yes.
Greetings.
And, of course, it is breakfast with the Kush Gang this week, so we will be having breakfast with the Kush Gang. Also, hi, Darth Dragonis. Thanks for showing up. Great to see you here. Let me get the ad read out of the way because we've got a special show for you today. We got some huge stuff in the news to talk about today. But first, today's pre-roll is brought to you by The Hidden Leaf, downtown Charlottesville, Virginia, 105 West Main Street, above the bricks, on the downtown mall above the bricks, Suite 200, a great place to go with some great buds to get some great buds. A bud, and the only thing better than their bud is their customer service. Also, they have the lowest prices in town, according to my own personally highly biased research, for which I was incredibly high when I did my biased research. What exactly do we prevent? Very funny. Don't forget to check the website for times and events, such as Frosty Fridays, the sales event where you can find our other two sponsors, Firehouse, where there's smoke, there's Firehouse, and the Kush Gang, purveyors of fine edibles and drinkables that we will be trying here in just a moment. Now, because of the nature of these shows, we do tend to talk about political and politically divisive subjects. So I do want to add a disclaimer that all of the opinions you hear expressed herein belong to the expresser of the opinion, the channel, and or our parent company. I forgot where that was supposed to go. But not necessarily any of our sponsors. What's up, Kush Gang? So, with that out of the way, Kingsways, let's get into starting breakfast with Kush Gang and talking about what we're going to talk about today. Now, I do want to touch on one of the biggest, I think, the biggest story in the news this week. I believe, I can't believe that it's happened. It blows my mind that we live in a world where this could happen, where they found life on Mars. I mean, they may have possibly found possible evidence, maybe, of life having existed on Mars at some point.
You know, gotta go to an entirely another planet to get a life.
Uh-huh. Gosh, these brownies are so good. Good morning, Just Me Crystal. Great to see you here. And some of us have Ember the Fire Smart Fox. So yeah, that was that wind up was supposed to be, everybody expects us to touch on the Charlie Kirk situation, and I do feel like we do kind of have to touch on that briefly. But I don't. Darth Dragonis and I said a lot of what we have to say on the matter on Thursday, and shared our feelings about that. I wanted to give you two time to weigh in if you have feelings you feel the need to express about this. But, I don't feel like there's a whole lot to say just yet. A whole lot more to say just yet without, possibly buying into hype, and unsubstantiated claims. That being said, I did notice where, he donated to the Republican, not Charlie Kirk, the alleged shooter. I saw where he had donated to Republican campaigns. So,
Yeah. Alleged is good for right now because this was the third or fourth person that they arrested and have said so far this is who did it.
right. Now, I mean, the evidence is mounting pretty hard against this guy. I mean, Taylor Robinson. Evidence is mounted pretty heavily against this guy.
Hmm.
But
I'm keeping track, so I have no idea who these people are.
I mostly was keeping track with the fact that they're like, we got him, we don't got him, we got him, we don't got him. We've made an arrest, we let them go.
right,
Like,
I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out.
I didn't hear any of that. All I heard was, oh, we have a picture of the possible suspect wearing a black hoodie, Converse shoes, and jumping off a roof. That's the last I heard anything about it.
oh yeah.
Oh my
no.
God, it was the
No,
devil of Hell's Kitchen.
And also the bazillion phone in for air quote tips.
Right.
Mhm. So there's that. There's the ammunition manufacturer that has spoken out and said, we don't know for sure what ammunition was actually used, but if he was using our company initials are stamped in the casing, which sounds an awful lot like what you said it says on the casing.
So the reports of the stuff around. Oh wow, that's intense flavor. Pardon me.
It's an intense conversation.
It is an intense conversation. That is very blue raspberry. This is something I say to everybody. Remember to cut this with something. You don't really want to drink it straight. It is quite intense of a flavor straight.
Don't try it at home. Do
Oh,
not
yeah.
be like Trevor. Actually mix it with something else.
Also, yeah, don't drink the whole bottle. Man, don't be dumb. But yeah, for a while there were reports that anti-right messaging was on the bullet casing, or on the bullet casing.
There have been reports of that. But there are also reports that other things have been scratched on the casings that
Right.
are right-leaning phrases or whatever.
Right. Correct.
There's all of the misinformation that was put out literally hours after everything, with official people stating and making horrible accusations that are now very, very quiet and have said nothing.
Right.
Well, that's to be expected with the people who are currently in charge of the organization that took over the investigation.
There's the entire group of people that are upset because what happened should not have happened, period.
Mm-hmm.
But they are more upset over the fact that there are plans for lying in state and other things, up to and including a directive that I know was sent to Governor Youngkin about the flags being lowered specifically for this from the 10th all the way through to the 14th, 15th, I want to say.
Wow. They're making the most out of it. They can.
When not very long ago, a similar thing happened in Minnesota.
Right.
And the people giving orders now were pretty much laughing and going, ha ha. That's what you get for being on the other political side from us.
Right. There's
Ask him to drink water.
Nah, I'm good on the water. I'm okay. I don't need no water. I'm good.
We need to make that one of the buttons.
No. No,
We
we
should
do
make
not.
a button.
No.
Do I
No.
hear a button
I do
notifications, Howard?
not need a hydrate button. You need to remember that drinking too much water is actually dangerous to my health. I am serious on this. Because of the cystic fibrosis, when I sweat out all my salt. If I have extra water that does not contain electrolytes in my body, it will make me sweat. I will lose all my salt and I will stop retaining fluids. I will dehydrate if I drink water. That is why we do not have a hydrate button. Very serious about that one.
I am laughing at what Draconis said.
I am the only one.
Definitely the only one talking on this stream that has that particular issue, so yes. I'll have to use my button creation powers for evil elsewhere then.
Yep.
I'll think of something though.
That one thing is off limits just because that actually puts my health at risk.
Oh, we could make it spicy water.
We could make it spicy water.
That would have salt in
Generally,
it.
spicy additives have, electrolytic qualities.
And you have spicy tomato juice?
Now, this being said, I do drink water. I just drink water at a very controlled pace. I only drink water when I know that it's what I need in the moment.
I have a feeling that the statement of telling you to drink water was made to get this entire reaction.
Oh yeah,
Or
because Brock has been there when I have had too much water, lost my salt, and then started falling out.
Isn't it so wonderful to be surrounded by so many loving friends?
Mm-hmm. You're funny. You're very funny, Peanut Gallery. The only cis thing about me is my tick fibrosis. So, on to the big, spectacular, huge news of the week.
Life on Mars.
Life on Mars. And I have a video to watch. Hank Green from the Vlog Brothers, Hank's channel, Crash Course, and various and sundry, Sci Guys, very smart, or Sci Channel, I guess. Smart fella, a pretty good science communicator. Pretty excellent science communicator. So, yeah. Sci, SCI. Not, yeah. Sci show. You can see see this thing down here. That's Sci show. So let's get into the video.
Good morning, John. Don't really feel up to the moment, generally.
That opener, by the way, just so that people aren't thrown off too much. Hank and John Green started their internet fame journey. Thank you, Lockpick. Mwah. They started their internet fame journey doing weekly vlogs back and forth to each other when they were in college, as a way of, staying in touch, sort of the phone call thing. And it was and that's, how they became known as the Vlog Brothers. And so now when they're doing this, they start their episodes with Good Morning John or Good Morning Hank.
Mm.
And it's not a big deal. I just think that it's a really cute thing that they do. That they've maintained this very personal opening their entire career so far.
I don't think anybody's a huge fan of moments where it feels like suddenly everything's possible and that there aren't any good answers and there's no way to sort of access what the future will be like, or even how we got here. So instead, today, I want to talk about life on Mars. And I'm just going to go off the dome here, if you don't mind, though I do have some notes. And I just like, it's possible that with the whole world being what it is right now, you did not hear about this, but NASA announced, and there was a paper out, that after a full year of work, Perseverance, the rover, has detected some things on the surface of Mars that we do not know how to explain without there having been life on Mars. Now that's very different from saying that there was definitely life on Mars, and very, very different from saying there is currently life on Mars. But to put this all in context and to talk about like how science works, I'm going to give you the past, present, and future of life on Mars, including this recent discovery, which I think could be quite a big deal. The first spacecraft we ever sent to the surface of Mars was in the 1970s, and it carried a little biology lab. So Viking 1 and 2 weren't just there taking pictures, though the pictures were important because, like, look, they did not know if they might see, like, lichen. They knew that Mars was pretty barren, they knew that the atmosphere was very thin, but there was plenty of talk back then about whether the pictures would show life. And there were definitely biology experiments on the Viking landers that were designed to detect life. So this was, from the beginning, taken very seriously. I mean, even before we were on Mars, there was lots of talk about whether there would be little green men. They were not looking for signs of past life. They were looking for currently existing life. They grabbed a little bit of soil and they put like water and nutrients on it to see if metabolism would start. And the first signal from that experiment was that gas was being released. And that was a big moment. But the way that science works, then you do other experiments to see if maybe that could have been done through some normal kind of chemistry, because like situations on the surface of Mars aren't going to be like situations on the surface of Earth. Other experiments on the surface of Mars showed no organic molecules, and then also we showed that the metabolism could be explained just by weird chemistry rather than by life. There could easily be just reactive compounds in the soil that would mimic the signs of life. So the verdict shifted from maybe yes to probably not. Viking was set up kind of with like one big experiment to decide everything, and that's just so rarely how science works. Now, if they had just taken pictures of some moss, that would have been it.
KPMG delivers a better audit experience due to their distinct private company approach.
Like it could have played out that way, but
I vaguely remember the Viking missions.
Mm-hmm.
What year did he say that was?
74.
74. I vaguely remember hearing about the Viking missions and the, it was not, by the time I was aware of stuff, that information had died down. That fervor had died down some. And the whole the whole Martian possibility of Martians was starting to look pretty grim at that point.
Usually it's more like you get a lot of drips, you interrogate those drips, you try and like deal with those interrogations, like a criticism, no, maybe it was done like this, and they're like, okay, we'll check for
Interrogating drips. That sounds like a chapter name for a bad noir detective novel.
I mean, that or someone is trying to find out what's in the stuff you just drank from Kush Gang.
I don't know.
They're yelling at the bottle.
It could be whenever you do a survey of MAGA.
That's true.
Wait until I'm taking a hit until you make the joke. One of these days, you're gonna knock me off my chair doing that.
Look, I've got like a 3-second delay between the sound of the video, sound coming from Discord, and the video coming from Twitch.
As long as when you fall, you don't land on a cat, everything is fine.
I don't have teleport. You're safe.
Long as Picanito and the others are all safe too, we're good. You know, putting some cushions around your chair just in case.
Right?
Sorry, honestly, I'm not trying to kill you. Just bad timing.
Or really good timing. I mean, what's the secret of comedy? Timing. I was trying to wait for you to speak again so that I could talk over you.
Timing.
Nope. I just go stop.
I know. Joke killer.
Killer joke.
No, we're not discussing that one. I sense a trap down that route.
Oh, it couldn't be but
For
a
that
very
one.
tiny one.
I sense a shotgun trap down that route.
That's a little bit bigger.
Aw.
One went over my head.
I am not making a short joke. This is me not making a short joke.
That's how science works. Measurements, countermeasurements, arguments, contradictions, revisions.
What was that?
Fish Gang says they have a joke.
I got a joke since we're talking about space. All right. Got my attention. Peanut Gallery, you want to repeat the joke you came up with this morning? How do you clean your karma after you hit your dogma?
With a squeegee board.
Exactly. What did the astronaut player say to his astronaut girlfriend? I don't know. What? I'm worried about this.
Pretty sure that's not
I need space. Oh.
There.
I like it.
I was thinking they had good game and said that they were out of this world.
Yeah.
That was an intelligent choice. Didn't we have an entire movie dedicated to this one joke?
Yes. However, I think that it was really supposed to be Michael Jordan's villain arc, as well as his love letter to the Warner Brothers. Like Warner Brothers cartoons.
His villain arc?
I think with Warner Brothers, though, that implies the gravity of the situation.
I got nothing. I got nothing. Dang it.
I win for once.
I got
You got
nothing.
because there's too much space between your ears.
I'm just trying to avoid the rest of this conversation.
Oh, look, there's a meteor coming. Quick, hit play.
So we're moving on to meteor topics.
Yes, yeah. And potatoes, because
Science.
there's
In 1996, I was 16 years old and I was at summer camp.
Science.
And another big thing happened. There was this Martian meteorite that was found in Antarctica, ALH 84001, Allen Hills 84001. And that was a rock from Mars. It had been blasted off the surface of Mars by an impact, and then it had landed in Antarctica, and we grabbed that and we did science to it, and we looked at it under an electron microscope, and we were like,
Did
oh my
science
gosh,
to
this
it.
thing looks like a fossil of a bacteria. And that was very big news, and I was very frustrated because I was at camp and I didn't have my computer and I couldn't blog about it. Oh, that's where I'm at. Then people were like, look, geology can make bacteria-shaped structures all by itself, and today this is still like in limbo. Like, it is an unresolved, probably forever a maybe sign that there could have been life. And it's like, to me, it's not even a check in either column. Now, to be fair, I skipped over the first part of this story, which is like looking at Mars and seeing, are these canals? Is this like a sign of an ancient dying civilization? And I'm also going to skip some other stuff. Like, Curiosity discovered some organic molecules in some mudstone. When I say organic, that's the chemistry definition of organic, which does not mean made.
This is an important distinction, and we'll come back to it, but I can't let that, the consent to do science go. While that is hilarious, that's also a good ethical point. And it's sort of one of those things around, I mean, you quickly go from rocks, which aren't living, unless you ask a dwarf. Which is why I could see you advocating for rock's rights there. But...
Well, they would be living. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to make such good music.
I also wouldn't be such a good wrestler. Yeah, no, I'd forgotten about the meteor in Russia, too, so that was good. Good timing. But you move quickly into the realm of living things, doing science to living objects. And while objects may not have what we recognize as a consciousness to be able to say, hey, I'm living, don't do that to me. I don't think that invalidates their right to consent. You know? I do sort of think that we should be... Well, either we should give in to the dark side and say, nah, we're just going to science everything, F consent, or we should, you know, be way more conscientious about how we science. And so I do feel like there's like, I mean, yeah, there's a middle ground that we are currently at, that we have to currently be at to be able to progress. However, I think we're also intellectually as a species at a point where we can start by asking ethical questions before we start sciencing on stuff. And sometimes those ethical questions are very easy. Should we science this fossil? Yes. Yes, we probably should. The fossil does not have any reason to object. But once you move past the really simple cases, and once you move past doing passive observations, science through passive observation, once you start actively interacting with things, then I feel like at least an awareness of the fact that you're affecting other living things that are incapable of giving consent needs to start being taken into account. Schrodinger's safe word. Fossil's response is set in stone. Both of those are brilliant. All right, I just wanted to get that out there before we went on.
What do you call a paleontologist who gets high?
I don't know what.
Same thing you call a geologist who gets high. A stoner.
Oh, I should have seen that coming. Oh.
By life, it means part of the large family of carbon-centered chemistry. We've seen weird spikes in methane on the surface of Mars.
Organic meaning carbon-based chemistry, not organic meaning part of life. I do want to touch on this, don't panic, it's organic sort of mindset, too. Organic does not mean what you think it means. There is organic in food service or in food preparation has a very specific meaning, yes. But it still is not, the actual meaning of the word is not what people think it means.
Every time someone says, "Oh, it's safe, it's organic," I'm just like, "So is oil."
Yeah.
Right. Now, a lot of organic molecules come from life because life is carbon based. So
we're just carbon a niche out here.
Huh?
We're just carbon a niche out here.
Right.
Yeah.
Carbon and niche. We're carbon based. So most of the molecules we will produce will be carbon based. Most of the oils we produce will be carbon based. It's just kind of how it works.
Mm-hmm.
That turned out to be maybe not as weird as we thought. There's also seasonal recurring lines of dark stripes, which seems like they could kind of be considered flowing water on the surface of Mars. And also a huge amount of planetary science just proving that at one point Mars had a bunch of water running over it. We know that now. We didn't know that when I was a kid. But for the sake of time, we're going to skip up to 2024. Perseverance rover drilled into a rock in Jezero crater, which is part of a dried up river delta that once fed into a Martian lake. This rock looked exciting, if you're the kind of person who can get excited by Martian rocks, which I am. So first thing to know, this rock was formed in a river delta by mud. So there was mud there, and then over time, the water left and the rock was compressed, and now you have what's there. And the reason this mudstone was particularly exciting is these spots that are all over it. And outside of the spot, you have one colored rock. Inside this spot, you have a different colored rock, and on the edge of the spot, you have a different color to it. So what is happening, definitely, is that something happens in the middle of that, and it changes the rock as it spreads out. And so that, on its own, is that's something you should look at more. And so they did, and Perseverance is a much more complex and capable laboratory than the Viking landers ever could dream of being. And they can look and check specifically what kinds of molecules are in there. And they can see first there's organic compounds, which again doesn't mean life, it means carbon-based. But they also found these two kinds of molecules. So there's vivianite, which is iron phosphate, and there's gregite. I think it's pronounced gregite. It's named after a guy whose last name was Greg.
Dad, I'm Bud.
Let's count the smiles.
I think
Spelled like this. So what this paper is talking about is that in this mudstone, so this like silt and clay that turned into stone, there's iron and sulfur. And in this universe, things that are at a higher energy can release energy.
Hey,
just like dropping a ball.
Got a raid from Just Me Crystal. Thank you for the raid, Just Me Crystal. Much love. Mwah. Thank you very much for the raid. Fumalina, thank you. Welcome in, everybody. Yes, we are watching Hank. We are watching Hank talk about science. We felt like we needed to cover the really big news this week. That they might have possibly found evidence that there could have possibly been life on Mars at some point. Get the Shields and Axes raid. What is a raid? A raid, Kingsways, is when another channel finishes their stream and comes over to my channel, bringing their viewers over and joining and watching. And we raid out every time. We raid out to various channels. On Sundays, we specifically raid out to the Sunday No Pants Raid Train, hosted by Lockpick. Yeah. And you've gotten here pretty much just in time. He's sort of gone over the history of the search for life on Mars so far, and he's talked about what they found that what they just found that may be the evidence for life on Mars. And there, let's do that real quick. And so what they found is a rock with spots, and he's explaining why the spots mean something. Let's dive back in.
So they found Cerberus on Mars?
What?
So they found Cerberus on Mars?
Yes. They found spots on Mars.
It's very smart, Peanut Gallery. Thank you. Very smart. I do just kind of love how the Lord of the Underworld and of the Afterlife names his dog Spot. Special spots. The best spots. Beautiful spots.
What is
Sorry,
hilarious?
bit of orange there.
Yeah. What is hilarious is the number of people over the years that had no clue what the word itself meant.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It took a long time for that to come back out.
But the number of people that are like, yes, that's a big, fearsome dog. That's what I'm going to name my dog. And so you have got this giant, fluffy monster of a dog that is all one solid color being named Spot.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile,
I've considered naming a dog Cerberus so that when it does something wrong, I can go, out, damn Spot.
that is a fair reason to do that.
No one has ever seen spots like this before. Grocery spots.
Oh no, grocery spots.
Ah.
What would
All
you-
right. Let's find out about these spots.
So
Yes.
think of a ball that's like up here, but in a well, so that it's never going to get out
Okay.
of there unless you like bump it.
Let's
that turned
back
into
that
stone.
up.
There's iron and sulfur. And in this universe, things that are at a higher energy can
Let's
like
back up a little bit
Gregite.
more.
I think it's pronounced Gregite. It's named after a guy whose last name was Greg, spelled like this. So what this paper is talking about is that in this mudstone, so this like silt and clay that turned into stone, there's iron and sulfur. And in this universe, things that are at a higher energy can release energy and go to the lower energy. It's just like dropping a ball. But these iron and sulfur compounds are like in a stable high energy state. So think of a ball that's like up here, but in a well, so that it's never gonna get out of there unless you like bump it out. Like you gotta shake it up. Iron, its energy level is up here, and it's not going anywhere, right? Even if there's quite a bit of heat, it's not going anywhere. There's no way to get the iron out until there's like a lot of heat. And then the iron goes flying out, and it's not in there anymore, and it falls down. And that can absolutely happen without biology. But you need heat, and heat is the thing that's shaking the cup. It's getting the iron out and then to a lower energy state. And what has happened inside of these spots is that the sulfur and the iron seem to have spontaneously jumped out of the cup. So you have to ask, how did they get out of the cup? How did they get out of their very stable but higher energy configuration to a second stable lower energy spot? They check and they look, and everything else about this environment says this was not a hot place. The chemicals also didn't like form somewhere else and then get deposited there. These chemicals formed where they are. I mean, you can tell that just by looking at it. They're not mixed in. It's like something happened and it spread out. Now the thing is, when the iron falls out, that creates energy, and that energy can be released in a number of different ways, but it can also be captured by life. So here on Earth, there are microbes that do this. They take compounds that are in high energy but stable states, and they say, okay, well, I'm going to use the chemistry of life to get you out of that state, and then I'm going to use that energy as it falls down to the lower energy state to power my metabolism. And this happens on Earth with both iron and with sulfur, which is what we're seeing here. So like Geobacter is a bacteria on Earth that captures iron reduction to power its metabolism. There are also on Earth sulfate reducing bacteria that capture that happening with sulfur. This is called chemosynthesis. So it's like photosynthesis, where you are like running your metabolism instead of with light, you're running your metabolism with chemistry. And so the question is, did we definitely find these compounds? And it seems like we did. Are there corresponding organic molecules around that could have been part of a living system? And yes, there is. Could it have been super hot and the chemistry have happened that way? And the answer is definitely not. Or could this chemistry have happened some other third way that we don't know about? And the answer to that is maybe. So that, to me, as a person who, knows the basics of biochemistry, is super exciting. Like, that's all right. Okay, we should look into that. But look, again, the chemistry of Mars is different from the chemistry of Earth. We don't know what it was like back then. But if we were on Mars, or if these rocks were on Earth, we could totally figure this out. Like, this would actually not be that hard to figure out whether or not this was done through regular old chemistry or biological chemistry. So now we're going to move on into the near future. What would we do to these specific rocks to figure out?
I want to touch on that humans use chemosynthesis for energy. Everything that is not every animal uses chemosynthesis. Not every plant uses photosynthesis. Some of them use chemosynthesis of some type or another. But I'm pretty sure no animal uses photosynthesis.
If there was life. So life on Earth makes like 4 big macromolecules. You got DNA, you got proteins, you got carbohydrates, and you got lipids.
That might not hold true for Mars, because Mars may have only had microbial life, and at that point you're not dealing with plants or animals yet. You're still just dealing with microbes.
DNA, not probably going to be super helpful when we're talking billions of years ago. It breaks down super fast. Proteins fall apart pretty fast, though there's a chance that some of the individual amino acids would get stuck in amongst the mudstone, and we can find them, but amino acids can be created through non-biological processes, so we would have to find that there was like a preference toward a handedness to those
Chirality.
amino acids. So amino acids can be sort of like left-handed or right-handed. You see how like my hands don't line up perfectly, even though they're mirror images of each other. So there could be mirror images of amino acids, and life you only uses one of those mirror images on Earth. And probably that would be the case everywhere. It wouldn't be the same mirror that would be used. They would either choose left hand or right hand, but they wouldn't do both. And so if there wasn't a 50-50 mix of the handedness of the amino acids, that would be basically a smoking gun. I would say that was life. But over that vast quantity of time, the handedness might actually be lost. So this might not be the smoking gun. Next, lipids. They're tougher. And so we could probably find lipids. This would not quite be a smoking gun. Now, if it was certain like sizes, and this is like cell membrane stuff, then that would be like, whoa, okay, that's a pretty big hint. But lipids can actually stand up for a long time. We have found lipid remnants in rocks 2 billion years old on Earth. But here's the big one, isotopes. So carbon specifically occurs naturally as carbon-12, which has 6 protons and 6 neutrons, but also carbon-13 and other isotopes. And carbon-13 has 6 protons and 7 neutrons. Life prefers lighter isotopes. So if you took all the carbon out of my body, I would be dead, and so I wouldn't be able to talk to you anymore, but you have a pile of carbon. And then if you took all the carbon out of a bunch of pencils, you laid them next to each other, there would be more carbon-13 in the same number of pencil atoms than there would be in my atoms. We know this. We've known this forever. It's an extraordinary...
I hope they don't find life, because I love the idea that we created a planet inhabited by nothing but robots. You know? Yeah. I think that is pretty funny. Oh, crap. I forgot to press record.
Lens cap.
Oh, well. I guess we're not dropping this episode on YouTube this week.
Potentially not.
We've already gone through so much. I guess I can. I can swear and smoke cigarettes this time now, y'all. Well, freaking heck.
What I was going to say is that much like you got the Soul video, I can get this one too.
Oh, okay. Well then, no, I can't smoke cigarettes and curse.
I just can't upload it because it won't let me upload it.
If I give you the password, will you be able to upload?
I don't know, and I don't think so. I know that.
Will you be able to log in as me?
I mean, it's worth trying, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah, we can. Rats.
Sorry to entirely dull your joy there, Lockpick. You can still say all the things.
This may be a lost episode that only gets put on Patreon anyway. So
that works.
We'll see how it turns out. We'll see how it turns out. Well, dang. I've been a bit distracted today. I've had other stuff sort of going on in the back of my head today.
Hmm?
Oh, well, life happens.
So Patreon is where you drop all your F-bombs, or where you hold all your F-bombs, right?
Yeah, it's the optimal.
I mean, it could be. It could well be. I don't drop on YouTube. I can make her a manager of a page and she should be able to upload. Okay. I thought I had, but I'll give it another try.
Ordinarily useful.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I'm going for a real stretch of a joke, but if it's a place where you're keeping all your F-bombs, then it's your F-port.
Yeah, the F4.
As I said, it's a stretch.
It got there.
It was a stretch, yes. It was so much of a stretch that I think Mr. Fantastic would have had to have...
Limbered up first.
Yeah. Always gets me.
Full quirk of physics. Life prefers the lighter isotopes, and so if you want to figure out if something was living or not, you can look at the carbon ratios, and you can determine for sure whether it was alive. So this is probably going to be how we do it, and it's not complicated science. I mean, it's getting the stuff to Earth, very complicated. The science itself, of course, complicated, but not something that's new or that would be difficult to do. And this is the kind of evidence that Earth's earliest life rests on. We do isotopic fractionations of stuff that's frozen into 3.5 billion-year-old rocks in Australia and South Africa, which are like the oldest rocks on Earth, because Earth, this is going to become important later, is very geologically active, constantly recycling rocks. So we don't have like many of the rocks from the early Earth to work with. Mars, not like that. But to get the samples back from Mars, you have to do the sample return mission. And this Perseverance is designed for this. It can package up samples from Mars. It's been doing this. It like leaves them behind, and they're there to get picked up and brought back by a robot, not by a person. And that mission has not launched yet. It's been...
It occurs to me, Lockpick, that... It occurs to me, Lockpick, that there isn't life on Mars now. We are in the 99.9% sure range that there isn't life on Mars now. It's not impossible, but it's so highly improbable that... Great. We're worried about the carbon footprint on Mars now, too? Yeah.
Yeah.
But so because there's no life on Mars, we still have made a planet completely populated by robots. You still have that.
Fraught in getting it done, in getting it funded. It's a complicated mission, and at the moment, it's a little bit in limbo. Definitely not going to happen in the 2020s. It will hopefully happen in the 2030s, which will be great, because I will theoretically
all life
still be alive
extinct,
then. But again,
replaced by low
so
robots.
We have all
Yes.
these little puzzle pieces. We're getting more
Exactly.
and more puzzle pieces all the time, but only when we actually do the science. They don't just
What
come
do you mean
in.
going? It's
We
gone
actually have
there.
to
It's
do
already there.
Hard, clever science, and those clues pile up, and some fall apart under scrutiny. Others are scrutinized, and they continue to gain strength as they don't
By
fall apart
robots
under
from
scrutiny.
another
If
planet.
the leopard spots in this rock are really biosignatures, Mars was inhabited by life. But here's the thing: the moment you accept that, you don't get closure, you get new mysteries. For example, did life start independently on Mars, writing its own version of biochemistry as we did ours? And that would, for me, be the most exciting version of this story. That
Alien
would basically
robots
mean
from
life
Mars.
is extraordinarily common in the universe. It wouldn't necessarily mean
Life, alien robots from Mars should be a band name. It should be a band name. It should be an album name. It should be a book name and a bad movie name. So, with the robots are networked on Mars, would that be Skynet? Oh my gosh. Oh God. We are Skynet. We're the bad guys. Oh, we're the bad guys. Wait, we've known we're the bad guys for a while now. Never mind.
complex life is common in the universe, but it would mean life is common in the universe. If it happened twice in one solar system on two neighboring planets, it happens all the time. And we could probably tell if it did its own version of biochemistry or in the other direction if there was one single origin that ended up on 2 different planets, which would also be very interesting and important. So we know that planets are swapping parts through impact
Panspermia.
ejecta. We know that some things can survive in space for fairly long periods of time. So it might be that life started on Earth and then was transported to Mars, or it might be that life started on Mars and was transported to Earth, or it might be that life started somewhere else and was transported to both places. But which that would be extra wild, and also I don't think there'd be any way to tell the difference between any of those circumstances. But maybe. But also, if there was life on Mars, this opens up something I don't think people talk about that much. The earliest evidence we have of life on Earth is about 3.5 billion years old, but that's not because it probably was the oldest life, just because that's the oldest rocks we have. If there's a definite biosignature on Mars, that would, one, prove that we are not the only planet with life on it, but it might also give us access to the earliest evolutionary steps that has already been erased by Earth. So we don't have a way of looking back in the past that far. Living chemistry of Mars would allow us to have access, potentially, to information that would help us understand how chemistry became biology, which is one of the very biggest questions. And finally, if we're really talking about the future of life on Mars, the most exciting, maybe even unsettling question is if Mars hosted life for a long period of time, is it still there? We know that Mars has heat inside of it still. Like the most recent volcanic eruption on Mars was not billions of years ago. It was millions or even maybe less than that of years ago. So we know there's still heat in there. We know that there was once water.
So this brings up the one question I have. Mars was the beta test. So he's saying volcanic eruptions weren't that long ago. Is it possible that what we're looking at is the leftovers of a volcanic eruption? Like volcanic spray? Because he said it was created by heat hitting this area and spreading out. And could that have been volcanic spray? And that's, he also went through and said, no, this area was cold. It has been cold. And it's, again, like, but this brings up another question. Interstellar radiation or stellar radiation, could it have been created by that? Because, well, yeah, I mean, Mars has almost no atmosphere, so nothing to protect from the space rays. But that's what science is looking at something and going, oh my God, this could be this. Let's check all of these other things off first.
Mm-hmm. You form your hypothesis, you test your hypothesis. If it works, you keep testing it to see if you can make it not work.
Right. And
fails,
it's entirely right. And it's entirely possible that in looking at a few of the things that he's been talking about, looking at carbon, carbon isotopes, looking for carbon-12, looking for an abundance of carbon-12 and a lack of abundance of carbon-13, or looking for generally left or right handed molecules, organic compounds, these other things that would identify life, in the look at those other things that may disqualify the thought that it's cosmic rays or volcanic eruption. And that may be how you disqualify those things. I just wanted to take a moment to speak on how science works. The temperature on Mars only go up to about 70 degrees during the day. So you're saying it's a bad place for a date? No atmosphere. Yeah. Right. So that's part of why it's, too cold for this sort of thing to have happen. Or at least easily. Or at least currently. But that's, again,
So are
why
we talking about 70 degrees in freedom units or socialist units?
This is where I'm getting more tea.
I'm sorry.
If it was freedom units, it wouldn't be 70 degrees. It would be just less than a cup of McDonald's coffee. No, it would be this. It would be the same temperature as a cup of 7-Eleven coffee at midnight.
A cup of McDonald's coffee can actually be dangerous.
Well, not anymore, dude. Not after that lawsuit. We call that room temperature 20 commie units. Call that room temperature. I thought 0 commie units was your room temperature, which is what we call same temperature as a glass of cool iced tea. Freedom units are getting so ridiculous. I mean, how many bald eagles do measure a football field anyway?
What?
Well, those are two freedom units. Bald eagles and football fields. He's about 3 bald eagles tall.
That's a very tall guy.
Okay, he's, bald eagle and a half, but he lied on his passport. Plus, most Americans don't actually know how tall a bald eagle is. Oh, it's probably only about this big, All right, let's get back to the sciencing.
Also, most Americans don't know what a bald eagle sounds like.
No, they don't. It's like 2/3 the height of that.
That we are pretty sure that there is still subsurface water. If that subsurface water is near something warm and there was once life on Mars, then that life, it seems entirely possible, especially given what we know about sort of deep down life on Earth, that there would still be living microbes.
And then your dreams are shattered,
Lockpick. Would
Lockpick.
allow us to observe it directly, which would be, I don't know, like that would, oh God, that would be so cool and good. But also, we'd have to make sure that we don't kill it. That would suck if we killed the life on Mars. There's one thing to extinct a species. It'd be another thing to extinct a biosphere by introducing all of our advanced stuff that's had a bunch of time to thrive and evolve. Like ultimate invasive species, right? Like moving into Mars and be like, oh, whole planet to go after, gimme it. I'm talking about microbes being the invasive species here, not humans, though. Ultimate invasive species right here. We can invade anywhere.
With new diamond weave texture, Charmin Ultra Strong cleans better so you can use less. I'd do anything.
I feel like having a Charmin commercial right after pointing out that humans are the most invasive species.
We can invade anywhere.
Yep. And here, use this paper to Clean your ass. Oh, God. We're awful. We're awful creatures.
What are you doing? Putting magic fairy dust on Murphy and Buzz so we can play together forever.
Oh.
We're in Antarctica. We went to the moon. So yeah, isotopic
Subsurface or
fingerprints of
subsurface water,
carbon-based
Ohio
chemistry,
class,
liquid
or sea
backbones,
wolf.
maybe locked up in the clay. Maybe even, I didn't talk about this, microfossil type stuff like the Allen Hills meteorite. That's how you sort of build the picture, like, one, that there was life, and two, what was that life like? The questions don't stop coming. This is one of those big questions that becomes a trillion questions once it gets answered. If it gets answered in the positive, this one question becomes a trillion questions. And like a trillion very exciting questions. But I think it's important to say that the way that this is happening is reflective of almost every big scientific claim turning into consensus. So you get the early hint, you get contradictory data, you get tantalizing maybes, you get years of debate, and then you finally settle that debate. My favorite example of this is like, when were atoms discovered? Like, was it when Democritus said, I think there are atoms, and I'm gonna have a philosophical debate about that? Was it when Dalton and Lavoisier were like, look, we're doing all this chemistry, and it's all happening in whole number increments. And that seems weird. So probably stuff exists in discrete units, like atoms. But maybe it wasn't then. Maybe it was when Einstein was like, I did the math, and Brownian motion only makes sense if things are made up of physical particles. Or was it when Max von Laue did the first X-ray crystal diffraction images? And it was like, look, this doesn't make sense unless
Shortly
there are, like,
before
balls in there.
Eves.
Science doesn't usually end up with like
Only
the
if you
Viking
believe
lander
the book.
lands, and then it looks out and it's like, hey everybody, look, moss. It's usually like drip, 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 and then eventually the flood is big enough that everybody's like, yeah, that room's wet. Is that a good analogy? It'd be great if one day an alien landed and was like, hello, you're not alone. Take me to your YouTuber. Bring them to me. I want to talk. Usually it's not like that. And so these things that are huge can feel, when they finally happen, pretty anticlimactic.
I do feel like that's what it would be now, though. You know? Because, I mean, these signals are going out there. They're probably not going very far, but there's a hum of information that surrounds our planet that if an alien got close enough, I mean, we're assuming they have the technology to receive microwaves, which is highly possible if they're an interplanetary traveler. You know, they're going to pick up on these microwaves and see all our broadcasts and be like, oh, okay, this is where it's at right now. These are the people to look at. Of course, I think if they did that, even aggressive species would be like, not worth it. Not worth it. Let's go. Let's leave. Time to go. I think aggressive species would see our, you know, Independence Day movies, War of the Worlds movies, that whole thing, Alien Nation, and be like, no, not worth trying to conquer. Trump emits microwaves. I mean, look at the size of those hands. Wrist, wrist, elbow, elbow, wrist, wrist, elbow, elbow.
Okay, that's delightfully rude. I approve of that one.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly.
Good one, Peanut Gallery. Good one. All right.
Climactic, because there's the debate has been going on for so long that it doesn't happen in one moment. It's just like consensus slowly builds until everybody's like, yeah, put it in the textbook. So like possible biosignature strengthens evidence for habitability. It doesn't sound like the stuff of the front page headlines, but usually like extraordinary achievement doesn't happen all at once because it needs a bunch of evidence and a bunch of interrogation. It needs to make its data available for other scientists to challenge. That challenging takes a bunch of time. If like a good challenge comes along, you have to figure out how to answer that challenge, or you have to realize that you can't answer it, or you have to accept that probably you were wrong. The body of scientific knowledge is the stuff that has survived contact with intense skepticism. And that takes time, and it makes me realize that, like, if we find life outside of Earth in my life, which is totally possible, it'll not be that big of a news story, which is kind of hard for me. Like, in a very real way, it would be the biggest story ever. But because it's probably going to be more of a slow tipping of the scales toward, that seems like the most likely explanation, it probably won't be that big of a story. Just like you may very well have gone through this week, though admittedly, and for good reason, there was competition for that news space. But like, you may have gone through this without knowing one of the most important discoveries in the history of planetary geology. And like that the scale is starting to get tipped in the direction of, like, there was once life on Mars. Now, I'm not saying that it couldn't tip back the other way, but like, it's starting, as a person who like cares about this and has looked at it for a long time, it feels like it's going one way now. Many times in the past, Mars has raised our hopes, and skepticism and evidence have cut those hopes down a little bit. And I will be honest, I want there to be life on Mars. So just...
The biggest thing that Mars confirmed that keeps giving us hope is that there was liquid water on Mars at one point. And that there is subterranean water now. Like, water's not gone from the planet. So that, you know, because that is true, that is the point, that's the point at which the weight moved past the focal point of the lever in the analogy he's making. Ah, geez, Hank, I am sorry. That is not a good face to pause the screen on. I think that's why it feels like this is tipping in the direction of positive, of there was life on Mars, and will always feel like it's tipping in that direction. Because water is so integral to life, and life seems, on Earth, life seems to follow water.
But what are you going to do about it?
What?
But what are you going to do about it?
What are we even talking about?
I don't know. I'm just going along with the flow.
That was slick.
I feel like we're getting swept up in the current here. And maybe we need to pull this boat over to the side of the river.
What, you don't want to brave the rapids and see where this goes?
I feel like it's just going to be a raft of crap.
Hate to rain your parade, but we're here for something else.
Waterfall effect. Everything flows downstream.
First rule of plumbing: crap rolls downhill. It's a cascade.
Like, that bias is there. But every time we get that dynamic of, like, new evidence, and then, like, ooh, well, what about this? We inch forward toward the truth. And if we do answer that question, that has been in our minds since we figured out that there were other planets, that question, once we can use the laboratories of Earth, might be fairly easily answered. Now, getting the vials home to Earth, that's not going to be easy. But once they're here, we know how to do the analysis. In conclusion, John, everything we know we figured out. This is a very big question. It's one of the biggest questions. But we are always, as humans, but it feels like especially now, in a time where there are a lot of big questions that are unanswerable. Not like, I don't know how we'll answer that, or I don't, like, when will we get to the answer? It might be a long time, but, like, just unanswerable. Because humanity, groups, individuals, the whole thing, it's just too big and complex. And I'm feeling that a lot right now. But in this case, there's like a really big question, and there is a potential path to certainty about a big question, and then moving to the next set of questions. And that, I think, understandably, I find comforting. John, I'll see you on Tuesday.
Taking the time to savor Thomas's crunchy yet soft bagels.
Well, that was evidence of life on Mars. And and our careful dancing around of other subjects.
Yes, yes, indeed.
So I do feel like I feel like there are highly probable. I feel like this is probably evidence of life on Mars, but I feel like it's also highly possible that there is another reason for this existing. Where do y'all sit on this? Where are y'all at on this?
Thinking about your question about could this be product of a volcanic something or other or radiation, one of the thoughts that pops up is the number of microbes and other things that live in and around lava.
I mean, heat does tend to draw life to it much the same way water does.
So I'm kind of leaning towards, yeah, there could have been something there. And it may have, you know, logically it would probably have very different needs than we would have here.
Well,
Just
it was
because we
saying
need water to survive doesn't mean someone else needs water to survive.
True. True. These microbes were specifically, if they were microbes, they were specifically living off of something and turning it into iron. I can't remember what and turning it into iron. Or was it iron and turning it into something? But
I'm turning it into something.
But also this was in at the bottom of a river.
Mm-hmm.
Now maybe it happened when the river dried up, you know. Maybe it was, maybe it doesn't need water to live. Although,
maybe it does.
Can we conceive of a form of life that doesn't require water to live in some way?
Xenomorph.
Yeah, xenomorph.
What is the biology of the xenomorph that makes it so it doesn't require water in any way? Does not use any form of water. Which all of a sudden I'm going, that can't be possible, because if its spit is acid acid is generally a water-based thing. Not oil.
True.
Right?
But they're also not carbon based, so it wouldn't be oil.
Okay, so
silicone based.
Here's the thing about
in their humps.
Huh? What?
Camels take the fat that's in their hump and they turn it into energy, and in doing so, it produces water.
Okay.
But the amount of water each gram of fat produces is technically more water than if you could have stored it all in the hump.
Wow. So there are creatures. Okay. That makes me think that there might be microbes that convert lipids to water. Wait. Convert lipids to water. Convert fat to water, which makes it less likely that going back to the xenomorphs, they are silicon-based life is highly unlikely. It's almost impossible because of the shape of silicon's outer shell. It is a more stable outer shell than carbon, which is why carbon is the preference, is the basis for life on Earth. There may be an ion of silicon that would work, but it would be a very specific ion. It would be a very specific case, I think. If I'm remembering my chemistry correctly. I'm as much of a chemist as I am anything else, so, like, I could easily be wrong on a lot of this. However, I am pretty sure I got it about the stability of the outer shell of silicon. Which is why it's so unreactive in general. Why it makes a good insulator. It doesn't want to accept or give up any electrons. I'm fairly sure. So that's yeah. That's why I don't think non-water-based life exists in the real world. Specifically because carbon is the basis, is what life seems to need to run. And I think it's the relationship between carbon and hydrogen that is what makes water so valuable in life. Now,
is that water is a solvent.
Well, yes, water is a solvent, and it's the universal solvent. It's got a polar end and a non-polar end, and because of that, it bridges all the gaps.
All right.
There would have to be another method of producing energy other than oxidation if a species was silicon-based. Basically, yes.
Okay. So, if you've got something silicon-based and you've got an atmosphere that is super saturated with something else that would act like a solvent, and it would work.
Methane.
Because at a certain saturation rate, there are other things that will work and function like a solvent that are not water related, that
Right.
normally wouldn't do anything.
Right.
So if you've got, something that is like, I am not pulling up a suitable thing off the top of my head, but
Benzene.
we're going to go with something. Huh?
No, benzene, because
What'd you
it's
say?
a ring. I said benzene, but it's a ring. It wouldn't work. Unless under certain pressures it breaks up some and you end up with a polar tail on a benzene ring.
I don't know.
That's not impossible.
But, some other thing that you've got a supersaturation of it. I think that you could have life from something like that. Which would make it, some place we would not be able to exist very well, and probably whatever we send to go look would have a really hard time looking because it's not designed to work in that environment.
I agreed. Agreed. How would they produce a net gain in energy? Jesus.
I do not know.
All right, you know what? You know what? This conversation is staying deep, so it's hard to do with silicone. Let me...
What I go with is it's hard to do with silicone as we know it.
As we know it. However, under a certain amount of pressure, that might change. However, I'm feeling pressure at the moment. Let me go to a be right back screen, and I need to hit the bathroom, and I will be right back, and we will continue this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You're funny, Lockpick. Okay, but here's my theory.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, if you have, we're going with silicon-based life, right? We're going with a non-oxygen based solvent at certain pressures. I'm saying that the energy comes from breaking the bonds in carbon-based molecules. Carbon is still abundant in the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably, there is probably carbon there.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, there might even be some non-biological process that is producing carbon.
Mm-hmm.
So, the silicon-based life in the... if I could picture a methane molecule, I'd settle on if methane was the solvent that I'm looking for. But, you know, in whatever probably a decapitalized form live by breaking bonds. So yeah, it's probably by breaking up carbon molecules and not destroying the carbon itself, but by breaking up the molecules, the carbon then combines with something, goes back out into the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that I bet you life would move very slow and evolve very slow, but it would be very stable. It'd be hard to undo. It wouldn't be exceptionally delicate.
Well, the balance would probably be pretty stable.
What do you mean by balance?
All right. So the cycle, the system in which life exists at that point would probably be very stable.
Okay.
Because we're talking about life and we're talking about, say, something that is under a specific pressure, then removing the pressure or changing that solvent ratio a little bit, that could trigger something that would very easily undo at least the life form involved.
However, what you're saying is this life form would be probably pretty immune to those kinds of changes and pressures. Right. If I remember correctly, the concept of large-scale silicon-based organism is entirely possible, except a small-scale microbe based on silicon is chemically unviable, meaning there wouldn't actually be a chance to evolve into a large creature. Have a great day. Have a great day, Kush Gang, Kingsways. I will see you later on for that t-shirt. I've got tomorrow, I'll be wearing it tomorrow on stream, repping the brand.
Sorry, no marketing campaigns for you today.
Hopefully, well, at some point, he's gonna get t-shirt bags that look like the packaging for his peach rings, the infused peach rings. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to that too. That's gonna be fun. Have a great Saturday. Good luck at the Kenna Market. I'll see you there. I think the concept of large scale silicon, that is interesting. It makes me wonder if it's, if it's possible for life to be an emergent quality, complex life to be able to be an emergent quality from not living organisms. That would be, and what we're finding out is that it is.
Mm.
We in a sense with AI are creating an emergent life out of non-organic parts. At that, it's not even non-living, it's non-organic.
Mm.
So that's, wow. Well, all right. That's crazy. Huh. Food for thought,
Honestly,
folks. What were you saying?
I was gonna say, honestly, if anything, I would think, given the way we've seen different gases and things here react to other gases, react to electricity and things like that, most likely, or a form most likely to be found is some sort of not dense thing.
Mm.
So you're if you've got a whole bunch of different things that are coming together, and you've got the high pressure, you might get your silicone based rock life form. But I would say you're also probably equally likely to get some sort of
Cloud-based intelligence.
yeah.
Again, just saying, we're kind of doing that.
We are. And as far as actual strict, this is what is happening on Earth right now, it doesn't necessarily count as life. But if you took the process and found it operating elsewhere without human intervention,
You'd call it life.
exactly.
Now, I mean, part of why we don't call it life is because it's not, it hasn't taken control of its resource consumption and reproduction.
Mm-hmm.
Those aren't integral parts of its existence yet. I think that's where the line draws itself at this point, or at least for me. Once it takes control of once its resource resource management and reproduction become part of its system. And I don't just mean the AI, I mean the hardware as well, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once that's integrated, once that becomes integral,
Mm.
Once those two systems become integral, then I think we can call it life. Yeah, I think that's where I stand with it. I think that intelligence, I think we can already call it intelligent.
Mm.
I think it's very rudimentary intelligence, but
Are we talking politics again?
no. I feel like that would. I feel like when you look at politics, you don't find any intelligent life there at all. I do think AI is a form is an actual real form of rudimentary intelligence, not alive yet. Highly capable of it. All it would require is a few people to decide to do a few things to go, oh, now it's alive. You know? And it wouldn't take a whole lot of extra work, I don't think, from where we're at to get to the point where it would be alive.
Why am I suddenly thinking of GLaDOS and the potato?
I don't know. What is that?
Portal.
Oh. I don't remember that part. Sorry.
Portal 2.
I've watched people play Portal and Portal 2. I don't remember much about it.
Didn't the evil computer get turned into a potato?
She got disconnected from the main unit and was attached to a potato battery.
Aha.
How are you doing? Because I'm a potato.
I mean, and as he was saying, you know, photosynthesis ain't the only way. There is chemosynthesis. It would not be hard. Computers, it would not be hard for the computers to choose how it took in its energy and to find a way to mechanize its own creation and, you know, and continuation.
I'm honestly unfamiliar with the term chemosynthesis.
Chemical version of photosynthesis. Of the two, on Earth, I believe photosynthesis is more common. I believe there are more plants than animals on the planet. However, all animals and some plants use chemistry over physics to generate their energy. I mean, it's all chemistry, but by physics, I mean using the energy of light hitting a chemical to excite it. Ooh. I feel a little dirty for that joke. All right. So, yeah. I feel like we've covered all the ground we can cover here. What about you guys?
I think we've definitely run the mile.
Well, if we're good, what I'm gonna do is I am going to I'm gonna point out that this is a charity stream right now, guys, for NPR. It is our local NPR station's fall fund drive
in summer.
In summer. And I'm gonna say, always support your local NPR station. But you can also support NPR on the whole by donating here via our charity link. Just be aware that by losing federal funding, a lot of local NPR stations are going to stop existing. And as a result, there's going to be a lot of more rural, less affluent areas in the United States that are going to stop having access to emergency notifications, to breaking news, to important breaking news. Even if NPR were to have a political leaning, which it does not, it still is the most reliable source for emergency local information. And that's why you should be donating to your local NPR station. Even if all you can do is donate $1, 50 cents. I remember when I was a kid taping 2 quarters to a 3x5 card and sending it in. And for me, that was a lot of money. So do support your local NPR station. And we will be continuing this fundraiser, at least through their fall fundraiser. I will, of course, be doing it tomorrow, and I do it every Sunday, but I will be doing it again on Tuesday and Thursday, which should be their entire fall fundraiser. I think they're looking for, 50 new donors, or maybe it's 500 new donors this year, this fundraiser. And I think $50,000, but I don't remember. So yeah, please remember to support your local NPR station. And if for no other reason than so you can go out into the world with a sense of moral superiority. Because that's what really happens when you donate to NPR. You gain a sense of moral superiority because you are better. You are a better person. So,
Certainly
yeah.
better that cut all the funding.
Oh, much better than those people. Much, much better than those people. So, yeah, that's been our show on the big news of the week. I feel like when I did that wind up, I didn't do it as well as other comedians have recently, but still, what you gonna do?
Hit the stop button and raid out.
Well, I'm waiting for ad break to end. And then I'm gonna say our outlines, our lines for getting out, and there we are. We are back from that final ad break. Thank you guys for being here, Kat, Peanut Gallery. Much thanks. As I drop stuff. Thank you, lurkers. Thank you, Just Me Crystal. Thank you, Lockpick. Thank you, Kush Gangs, aka Kingsways. Thank you, Brock, aka Darth Dragonis. Thank you, Just Me Crystal. Thank you, Just Me Crystal. Fumelina. Cheese and crackers. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Am I missing anybody? I feel like that's everybody.
Anybody that raided in with Crystal that didn't talk in chat?
Right. Thank you, Raiders. Thank you very much, Raiders. Thank you, lurkers. Much love to everybody. And now's the time
Raiders
on the show. What?
Raiders of the Lost Stream.
Raiders of the Lost Stream. Now is the time on the stream when I say, stick around for the raid. And then I say, as they say around here, 2 up, 2 down, VA, double deuces. We're out, y'all. Oh, there's the button.
There's George. 1308. Stewart. 1308. 1308. That's Stewart. Trevor Stewart. 1308. Fucking 8. Fucking Trevor Stewart. Trevor Stewart. Trevor Stewart. 1308. Fucking 8. Fucking Trevor Stewart.